Welcome back, disc golf fans, to round 2 front 9 coverage of the 2024 Music City Open presented by Lone Star Discs. Got a brand new chase card here today, looking to attack and make some ground on these leaders. Excited to be back out here at Mill Ridge Park. I'm Nathan Queen, again joined by Andrew Fish.
Yeah, delighted to be here. Pretty consistent weather throughout this entire week. A little bit of wind, which is maybe the biggest obstacle you face on this pretty open temporary course, Nathan.
Yeah, we'll see Ricky Wysocki, Jake Hebenheimer, Chris Dickerson, and Luke Humphries all tied at 8 under par, trying to calm that wind down.
Simon Lizotte off to a very hot start. Others kind of trying to chase him down. And we're going to start here on hole 1, 308 feet, a little bit uphill, so it's going to play a touch further. See players between mid and fairway. Need to drag something from left to right. Flex backhand is probably the cleanest way to park the hole, but forehand also works to an extent.
First on the tee, make some noise for Ricky Wysocki!
Got Ricky Wysocki here. Man, and you can see the wind going already right here on one's tee. Tee sign about blowing over there.
And this is one of the more sheltered places on the course, as Ricky's going to just pipe that up there, get a little backstop from a rock, 4-footer.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that one again. I like the height that he used going with that faster disc, but keeping it low to avoid the wind. I'm not sure he counted on that rock, but he can count that birdie.
Next up to the tee, let's welcome Jake Hebenheimer!
We've seen a little bit of Jake Hebenheimer on Gatekeeper Media's coverage already. Looks like he's going to play forehand. A little surprising to me.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a tougher line to hit for the birdie. Maybe easier to hit the gap if he's just playing up to the right, maybe for a circle 2 look.
Touch a stand up on that. Going to chase the scorekeeper for a moment.
Make some
and
noise,
as you say, a
for
circle 2 look.
Dickerson!
Chris Dickerson, Tennessee native, showing off his Tennessee colors here on chase card.
Indeed, and multi-time winner of this event.
And this has come out a bit to the left. Get caught up in that tree line. Hopefully he'll have an opening to get up and down.
Rounding out the card, give it up for Luke Humphries!
And Luke Humphries also off to a pretty solid start to his season. Between a couple discs here, we'll see if he's made the correct choice.
Yeah, one of the things I usually try to go by, I typically talk myself into it, is if you're not sure and it's windy, pick the more stable one.
Good luck, have fun, gents.
And that certainly was more stable, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it stabled out on him just a bit. As Dickerson is able to get up and down from pretty tricky spot. And possibly a little bit of rock love there for that one to skip forward, but Luke's going to be up and down. Just outside bullseye, should be looking at his par.
Yeah, you really can't count on that on this green. Some erratic ground play. As you saw Ricky get first a big skip and then complete stop. Luke fortunate not to get the stop in the first part of his landing. So bunch of pars, and then Rick with the easy bird.
Yeah, moves us into hole 2, 375-foot par 3. You've got the line that the drone is flying, but mostly irrelevant. Not too many people flying that, as you'll see forehands go high or low and driven, trying to skip around this big tree you see at the bottom. I like the high line better to be able to get back to the right. The skip isn't always guaranteed down here.
Yeah, it definitely does take a little more power to throw the high line because it can't be medium height. That's where the branches on this large tree obstructing the green are thickest and widest.
Dickerson, rather than trying to throw something straight down that line, goes pretty overstable and flexes something. Looked like he pulled it a bit, but continues to go down the fairway. He's going to have a circle 2 look.
And Humphries a little bit soft. Going to be there probably circle 2.
Nice upshot there from Hebenheimer. And this area that Jake and Luke are in right now was just absolute jail last year. They've cleaned that out a lot as well.
And not high enough for Wysocki to go back-to-back. That's going to leave Dickerson here at 36 or so. For a very dramatic stand and roll, and eventually settling safe for him to take a par.
Yeah, you've got to figure the wind had a little bit to do with that one. Is it quite a slow bid, but still had plenty of height?
Yeah, no doubt. Hole 3, 769 feet. There's 2 landing zones here, not quite an island green. Likely to see putter or mid or forehand layups, and then a more attacking shot with backhand hyzers into this kind of tiered green with cedars as a low ceiling.
Yeah, this hole requires almost everybody to have close to a 400-foot upshot, as you can't really get far enough with the way the OB is shaped on this one.
Hebenheimer nearly the unforgivable as he shaves the inside corner, but actually is going to land in an amazing spot to throw straight at the basket.
Dickerson with a well-controlled mid shot. Straight ahead. Yeah, once you get around these trees to the right, pretty open over there. I like the forehand play here. So yeah, Dickerson likely 400 or close to over, throwing a hyzer into this green. Should have himself right around circle's edge, but could be pretty obstructed.
Yeah, you can almost book that for everybody. It takes something well executed and well executed to jump up onto the second ledge and not be obstructed.
Yeah, as you see Jake, who had a bit of a straighter line, still went full hyzer and ended up a bit early. I like this line from Luke. A bit straighter, has a chance to get a flare, but actually had a little too much power on it. No Raptor legs yet for Ricky Wysocki today.
He's having to be crafty, not even able to bid that from circle 2. Humphries also going to be a par guy.
Close for Dickerson, but par as well.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
Got a good thing coming, and it's all I need. Everything I wanted is in front of me. It's a good, good.
moves us into hole 4, 559-foot par 4. Again, you can't get much distance off of the tee shot there. Got to hit a pretty tight gap. New tee pad from last year. Move to the right a little bit off the tee if you can, but really you just want to move forward and get closer to the long OB line than to this tree line you see on the right side. Well executed shot there from Ricky. He actually did move off to the right pretty well.
Yeah, no kidding. And that helps a lot because although this camera doesn't quite show it, this is going to play pretty uphill. The further you go, the flatter your footing. And an interesting choice here from Dickerson. How do you feel about this backhand roller?
Oh, man. I played with him. I believe it may have been the first round because I saw him do that. And I couldn't believe it, but he executed it just as well as he did right there. So if you feel comfortable laying it down, I mean, hit your gap.
Yeah, it's such a cool shot choice. And like we need more creativity like that in pro disc golf. Tucked a little bit on the inside makes this backhand tough, but almost ringing it up is Dickerson.
Yeah, when you can throw a backhand turnover like that or a straight shot, it's kind of strange that you just don't throw that straight shot off of the tee. But pretty cool to see that roller through the tight gap like that.
Wow. And off the cage for Wysocki with a skip shot.
Yeah, can't draw that one up much better. Forehand. Almost cards him the eagle. Most likely going to settle for the birdie there. As is Luke Humphries, who put his shot up there nicely. And back-to-back box hitters there from Jake and Wysocki.
And wind direction changed a little bit, but boy howdy, they are more successful on hole 4 than our card yesterday was.
Indeed they are. As it seems like we're looking at that diamond.
Hole 5, this is not a triple mando. We are going to throw up into this field and push through this gap that the drone flies through. Could attack that and try to make your upshot easier. A little bit of a downslope into the green, guarded very well by 2 large cedars left and right. Rick is going to try to play an attacking shot through the gap and flies the cameraman. That'll leave him about 200, 250 into the green, looking straight at the bucket.
Yeah, that's so much power on the forehand to be able to get it that far. You see Jake trying to match, may have pulled this one off to the left a little bit. Oh, but gonna sneak through that tree line. What a fortunate happenings there.
Yeah, no kidding. He just saved 3/4 of a stroke by punching through that.
As we see Dickerson go with the backhand to lay up short of this gap. And Luke gonna sneak through some trees there as well on the early side of the gap. So 3 players in good position across that gap to attack the green. Dickerson has almost a hyzer in, but pretty difficult to get your left to right movement correct. He does get through that second gap though, going to be circle 2.
He's been there a couple times already this round. We'll see if he's got the pace felt a little better. Wide for Humphries, so he is buried. May not even be able to get to the basket.
Yeah, and Jake also going to bury himself over on the left side. I don't know what it is about this green, but it's always seemed to cause errant shots from myself and just card mates in general. The gap isn't really super small, but it does slope downhill, making you try to put more touch on it. And that might be why people end up missing the gap more often, but something about it just seems it's harder than it looks.
Yeah, I agree. The downslope and the back tree line means I'm trying to, land it directly in line with the basket. But It's also somehow difficult to gauge the scale of the seeders left and right because they're as wide as they are tall. As Dickerson is going to knock home that birdie.
Yeah, playing it to perfection with the shorter play off of the tee. Gonna go back-to-back birdies, get himself 2 under par.
And Luke's errant second ultimately results in a bogey as Rick, from a tough stance back in the wood line.
Yeah, really strong putt there. Also gonna go back-to-back birdies. And some struggles after the tee shot for a couple players there moves us on to hole 6. A 720-foot par 4, OB left and right. The entire way down the fairway as well as long once you get past this basket. Very reachable, don't really need to ask for a ton of distance off of the tee pad. As you see Ricky almost going standstill here with just a little one step.
I don't know if that crawled back enough left for him to be able to see the basket. Might have to throw kind of a wide turnover or wide forehand. Dickerson going to follow that.
Yeah, testing that right side. Wind dependent, I think forehand does play better here, but this one certainly came out early for Luke. He's going to end up over on that right side OB area.
And finally, a good committed shot from the group as Jake Hebenheimer with a wide forehand lands himself in an ideal spot.
Yeah, that's more where you expect, the majority of the card to land on this one, but that wind does some crazy things. As Rick does go with that big wide forehand, going to get himself right around circle's edge, looking for another big putt. And looks like Luke pretty pinched off, not going to be able to get distance to get to the pin.
Yeah, forced into that chip. Dickerson, he might have designs on trying to get to it with big wide turnover. And just to get to that point, Nathan, is outstanding. Look at the glide late in that flight.
Yeah, always fun to see a turned over disc continue to glide and not just dive over. As Jake probably didn't get that exactly how he wanted to take advantage of his good tee shot. Left it just a little bit early. Gonna have a pretty scary downhill circle 2 look.
Yeah, doable though. Humphries a pretty good approach. Gonna have a 4, or gonna be looking at a 4. Rick upset at missing a 50-footer. Can't relate.
Well, he just made an obstructed 50-footer, so
That's fair.
Probably feels the clean one should be easier. This is Jake gonna card his par. And Dickerson able to hit. Did stay in bounds off of the tee. Gobble, gobble. 3 down on the round.
Yeah, the way that tee shot looked, I would not have pegged him for a birdie.
Agreed. And seems he will be the lone birdie on the card. As Jake gonna clean up his par. And Luke now, another little tester, is able to clean up his bogey.
Walk over to hole 7, a little bit of downhill here. And don't believe the drone flight. This route hardly exists. A lot of grabby branches on it. We're going to see almost certainly 4 wide forehands around the left side. Something overstable and driven to try to flex back and skip towards the basket.
Oh, I like this line a lot from Dickerson. Very overstable and got it turned over to drift just enough. He's going to have 4 birdies in a row with that beautiful tee shot. Oh, Ricky looking to follow it up. Oh, but just a bit short.
Yeah, not quite enough push on that Going long is far preferable to short on this flight.
Yeah, and Jake able to drift far enough to the left to miss those branches as well.
And a little higher line here for Luke Humphries. Pretty well done. He'll be out there near circle's edge.
Yeah, 4. Although Ricky came up just a bit short, that's 4 well-executed forehands for this shot. It's not a shape that right-handed players are asked to do with that forehand very often.
Not at this distance.
A nice hit there from Luke. Going to start the bounce back there, get back to even.
And Rick grabs the par.
Moves us into hole 8, 777-foot par 4, OB all the way down the right side. Left side is just tree trouble, as you can see. You'll see straight shots down the middle or possibly big hyzers, wind dependent. You want to get past that second little cluster of trees you see there, ideally. Going to put you in a spot to be able to attack this green for birdie, but 2 difficult shots to hit.
Dickerson pulled off to the right of the first gap, and Hebenheimer flies the first gap and then trails off left. We'll see if he's got a stance or if that tucked into the woods.
Yeah, looked pretty skippy heading towards those woods. This line looks a little more ideal to stay out. And yeah, going to stay just on the edge. Should set up a hyzer for him.
Yeah, and he was able to stay out of the woods because he pulled his disc to the right partway through the flight. Ricky got the stand up, and I think that should allow the same.
Oh yeah, beautiful shot.
Wow, and Dickerson is going to try to attack, but unwilling to test the right side out of bounds line. He'll now be still about 200 feet out in the shoal.
Yeah, and it is troublesome over there. Not super thick, but enough things to get in your way as Luke Humphries with a brilliant second shot. Looks like he's got himself a whisker tickler. What?
All right, Rick tries to take the gap out of play entirely. It's going to land near circle's edge. And perhaps I didn't give Jake enough credit for his tee shot. He actually did stay out in the open, and he's going to follow Rick to the skies.
Yeah, sometimes I just don't understand that. I know that they have more power than I do, but it's so windy today, and you've got to throw so hard to reach the basket, both of them coming up short. They both have the skill set to hit this gap here. Sometimes I just don't understand.
Yeah, I agree. Like, overstable fairway doesn't do anything. It really can't do anything worse than what your big high shot does. Good approach by Dickerson. However, that's going to take his 4 birdie streak to a screeching halt, as Hebenheimer going to try to horseshoe in.
Horseshoe from a knee. I think that would have been my favorite putt that I've seen so far this year. As Ricky rings it in and out of that veteran basket there. Pretty odd reaction.
Yeah, that is not in contention for my favorite putts of the year.
No. Luke Humphries completes that bounce back. 2 birdies, going to get him back under par.
Hole 9, 375. This is up and over a hill, so it's a blind shot. Kind of have to find a point on the horizon, whether it's a tree or the red barn back there, and use that as your aim point. Likely to see hyzers of some variety. Backhand and forehand both work. Nathan, you pointed out yesterday that the slope is more favorable for that counterclockwise spin. And of course, we are now seeing OB long.
Yeah, certainly difficult to slow your disc down unless you've thrown a slow disc with this right-handed hyzer. Jake trying to slow it down with a spike, but this looks off to the left and just pushes on over there. Surprised not to see forehands from the first two players as well. Ricky, well versed in the forehand, gonna give himself a birdie look.
And Chris, good. I think that was wider and higher, so it carried a little bit less steam into the green. Will settle safely.
Yeah, definitely a wider line. And he still ended up kind of pushing close to that OB left side over there. And the wind will have none of it.
Saw some grass fly in. That might have been a second wind check. And Humphries going to convert for the par.
That's a good little momentum saver, I'll say. He got back to under par on the round. Nice par, nice par feeling after the OB.
It really is all about damage control. And, we're now halfway through this tournament. He's still hanging on in 13th. You can't let strokes bleed away.
All right. So through the front nine of this second round, the wind wreaking a bit of havoc on our card. Ricky able to keep it clean, though.
Yeah, everybody doing okay and a lot of potential left as we are halfway through this second round and halfway through the event. We thank you so much for joining us on Gatekeeper Media's coverage of the Music City Open 2024. Come back and see us on the back.
For Andrew Fish, I'm Nathan Queen. We'll see you guys out there.